We are in an era in American politics where people are clamoring for leadership in the vacuum that has been presented by Donald Trump and his cronies. And there is light on the horizon to possibly force a move to get rid of Elon Musk. I'm going to read a headline here from the Daily Beast. Musk and his Doge goons would face drug tests under new bill. New Jersey Representative Mikie Sherrill is introducing a bill requiring drug testing for special government employees, a headline the likes of which we have never seen. And joining me today is that very Congresswoman, Mikie Sherrill, who also actually is going to abandon the House, it looks like, and running for governor of New Jersey. Congresswoman Mikie Sherrill, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So again, my audience, my growing audience, is increasingly concerned about the vacuum of leadership and even some pointed criticism for some Democrats. It appears as though you are not one of those who is worthy of criticism. You are actually doing something, leading in this moment. Tell me a little bit about the impetus for this bill to drug test Elon Musk.
Yeah, it's really interesting because we have these off-year cycle races in New Jersey, one of only 2 states that has the statewide off-year cycle. And so while we hear in other places, people are, what are we going to do? What can we do? What's happening? Why isn't anyone doing anything? Here in New Jersey, it feels like we're doing a lot. And I, point to Cory Booker and his powerful speech and really long speech. I mean, so impressive physically on the floor of the Senate to draw attention to what's going on. Yeah, I have this legislation against, people in these special positions who are not drug tested. As we know, Elon Musk has a history of drug use, has made some really weird, bad decisions, is harming American people, and is going unchecked. And at a minimum, I think we should know that people in these positions of trust can be trusted. So that is what this legislation does and points out. And well, it might sound a little basic. I mean, all of us in national security meet minimum standards of drug testing because we're making major decisions that impact people's lives and our national security. So you need to be able to do that with a clear head. And there's a lot of evidence that is not the case. And we see, once I've introduced this, we've seen more evidence coming out of people from SpaceX, for example, suggesting that he does not make these kinds of decisions without substance use. And also, I think we've seen right after I, proposed this legislation, some suggestions by Trump and the administration that he wouldn't be around very long. So I do, tell people these things have import. We need to continue the fight. We are making change here, not as rapidly as we would like, and we're seeing horrible, horrible things happening, but we can't give up.
Yeah, I agree. On the not giving up, the not surrendering, your bio is one that makes me feel like a lazy POS. So I appreciate that. That's fantastic. You're not only are you in Congress, you're a Naval Academy grad. You flew not fixed wing, but helos. I was in the Marine Corps, so I can speak this language a little bit. You flew helos in the Navy, right?
Well, since you were in the Marine Corps and I flew helicopters, I'm just going to give you a shout out for not saying to me, as all of the Marines in my district do, you were my Uber driver.
Right. Yeah, I'm not.
I get a little more appreciation from Vietnam era vets, but yeah, the young guys, not as much. So, no, I was a helicopter.
I'm not a Vietnam era vet. What is happening?
I'm just suggesting in my district, I get a little more credibility there. Like, from, I think the helicopters in Vietnam were some pretty.
What did you fly?
Badasses. I H3s. So the Mighty Sea King.
Marine One, right?
I'm sorry?
Marine One is an SH3,
exactly.
right?
That's right. I'm like, the one the president flies. So I flew H3s and I was in the Navy for almost 10 years. And I was also a Russian policy officer by the end of my career.
So you understanding the layout of national security is, I think, a benefit for what you're doing, certainly. Explain to the audience what it is that why are you running for the governor of New Jersey? Obviously there's lots to do and you would be a benefit to the House, but it sounds like that you've you've set your sights on maybe some more good you could do for the state.
Yeah, that's kind of encapsulates it. I'm really proud of the work I've done in the House, and have really been proud to address things like flooding, age-old problems that had just sort of people lost faith in government to do anything about it. Mental health concerns in the aftermath of COVID, car thefts that we have an outbreak of going on in our state. So often the conversations I've had in my community start with, I don't know if you can do anything about it, which is one of those things I think we're the United States government. How can we not do something about that? So I've been really proud of my work. In only my second term, I was named the most effective legislator in the New Jersey delegation. And I've had a lot of people coming up to me saying, that's great, but the House is in the minority, the Senate's in the minority. We have the Republican president. We need strong Democratic governors. And that's why I'm running. I do think that as a governor of this state, I can do more to serve the people in the state, whether it's driving down housing costs or utility costs or healthcare costs, and I can also work hard to protect rights and freedoms, which are really under attack. We have so many people reaching out about concerns for their personal freedom. A lot of, as you know, having served all over the world, we've served in places where people are picked up in the middle of the night and detained without charges. And
sure,
people are afraid here. They're afraid for their jobs. They're afraid. One woman called, she's concerned because her daughter is in school on a Pell Grant. She doesn't know if she can finish her education. We know veterans are being fired at an alarming rate from their jobs. We've had somebody who's almost at that 10-year mark that they put in an incredible amount of work and effort in public service, and they're not sure that they're going to get the support they were promised from the federal government. We see, attacks on Medicaid. One gentleman said, if they take away Social Security, I don't know how I'm going to care for my parents. So we're hearing all these concerns, and I think it is really the role of the governor to find a different path forward for this state and to deliver on driving down costs, but also protect people's rights and freedoms here in New Jersey.
Yeah, I think there is oftentimes not enough importance placed or stock placed in the role that governors play, especially with Republicans who bang on constantly about the 10th Amendment, which is just as important as any other amendment, but it's not more important. So we definitely need.
I'm feeling new support for the 10th Amendment, I have to say.
Well,
I'm becoming a little bit of a 10th Amendment fangirl.
Let me lean on your national security experience. I know this story doesn't have the tail that I hoped it would, that we would have seen some resignations over the SignalGate thing. You can expound upon the question, but do you think Mike Waltz and Pete Hegseth, and for that matter, the Vice President of the United States, should resign over jeopardizing national security like they did?
I mean, yes. Any junior officer or junior enlisted person would have been fired for this kind of contact on up. It's jaw-dropping. And the reporting now that someone like Mike Waltz, this wasn't a one-off thing. This was the communications platform for over 20, it sounds like, at least sensitive text chains. It's really shocking to me for so many reasons. Because we know that's not secure, because all of these people have, when you're talking about Hegseth, Waltz, and the vice president, they've all served. So they've all had the security briefings that we've had.
And Tulsi.
I'm sorry?
And Tulsi Gabbard, she was on it too.
I mean, I can tell you, from my plebes summer security briefing, this was obviously something that, you had to take very seriously, handling classified information. Beyond that, with these, I think a kind word is chuckleheads in office right now, that foreign countries aren't sharing intelligence with us. I think Israel's already complained about the intelligence that went out over Signal, and this is now out in the open. You realize that it's making us less safe day by day. And of course, there's just no responsibility. There's no accountability. There's no desire to rectify this. It is really jaw-dropping how our whole national security apparatus is failing so miserably.
Yeah. Another thing that seems to be failing miserably, thank you for tossing me that segue. As we speak, the Dow seems to be down roughly 1,500 points at this moment. all predicated upon Donald Trump's Liberation Day. Apparently, he's liberating us from prosperity. What are we doing? What have we done is kind of the question of the quarter here. What have we done, America? And what's your response to what Donald Trump did yesterday, which led predictably to where we are with the markets today?
Well, I think for all those people that somehow felt like maybe Trump was going to address their concerns as working people in this country, I think we now see that he has absolutely no desire to do that, that he has a different agenda. I don't think it's very clear other than enriching himself and his billionaire friends. He has now started a tariff regime, which we haven't seen since I think about 1910. We've seen the highest tax hikes now since the 1960s. This is pretty breathtaking in in the harm it's going to do. A lot of these taxes and tariffs are going to impact working families the most. And I think we're seeing, costs are going to go up prohibitively, up to, I think I've seen $3,800 a year for a family. It's just, all of this is moving so quickly, and I know people are scared. I know people are not sure what's coming. They're already feeling the effects of these on the ground. We already are seeing people's life savings, really being hit by this as Trump has imperiled Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. All of these hits feel very dangerous to the safety and security of working people. And that's why, again, I think in this moment, I've made the decision to run for governor, because that is, I think, where I would have the capability of creating some stability and security for the economy of New Jersey. And I think as Democrats, we have to be thinking big. I think we have to be thinking boldly. I think this is crashing systems that have been in place for decades. And while I think that's dangerous, I think it's going to hurt people, I am against it. We are going to have to come up with a vision of how we rebuild. And I think it would be to our detriment if we just kind of let this happen around us and did not come up with a vision going forward. And again, that's why I'm running, because I think we can create a better economic stability, more opportunity. I think we can create a system that better serves people. Look, I think our healthcare system's not serving people very well in this country right now. We haven't come up with innovative utility plans, and we know we're going to have greater and greater power needs as we're facing a climate crisis. We, I think, have to address the housing shortage. Certainly in New Jersey, we have the second lowest inventory in the nation right now, and prices are through the roof. A lot of this stuff feels like it's not rocket science, but it feels like we've gotten away from just delivering on the nuts and bolts to the American people. And as Democrats, that's what we want to do in New Jersey. We want to make people's lives better. We want to create stability. We want a state that really thrives and works better. And that's why I'm running.
We need, personally, I believe, I don't know, it seems self-evident to me that we don't need talkers, we need doers. It seems as though you're a doer. Even in, to forward the point about doing things for the people in New Jersey, your first bill you introduced in the 119th Congress, this particular Congress, was about facing down the deleterious effects that Donald Trump is creating for the U.S. economy. He's a saboteur of what was taking place in a recovery under Joe Biden and now dragged us back. Tell us about your effort in that first bill to create, in an environment right now with housing unaffordability and the difference between wealth inequality right now. Tell me a little bit about that bill.
Yeah, we do have a lot of talkers. I hear so many people tell me, and this is going to give away my age, but they say, Mikie, a lot of politicians are like that teacher in Charlie Brown, where they're like, wah, 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 affordability, wah, 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 taxes, wah, 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 right? And that's what I hear a lot of times too. And I think what people want is some real talk. The American people can take the hits. They can hear that this is going to be hard. They can hear that there are going to be, different choices in this, but what they don't want anymore is to hide the ball. And I say that in housing, like you said, my very first bill was saying, look, the way we're building housing in New Jersey is not working for anyone. We're supposed to be addressing affordable housing. We're supposed to be addressing historic redlining. And now we have no affordable housing. We have a missing middle for the workforce housing. And we also have the most segregated school system, one of the most segregated school systems in the nation. So why are we hiding that we are not successful here? Why aren't we innovating instead and saying, look, this isn't working, but let's work together on a plan that will. Let's come together and figure out how we're innovative in this space. So that's what my housing bill does. It says we're going to remediate commercial properties. We're going to provide tax incentives. We have a dearth here in New Jersey of open spaces, but we have a lot of underutilized commercial spaces. So let's rebuild there. We should look at our power. We'd like to say that here in New Jersey, we've divested of a lot of fossil fuels. But what we're not talking about is the fact that now we're buying a lot of power on the market. And that's coming from Pennsylvania and West Virginia. So coal and fracking. That's, people get that. Nobody's sitting here saying, oh, we're doing great. But people are hiding the ball. And nobody, yeah. I think everybody's sort of like done with it. I'm done with that. And I've been, I always thought I had a lot of tact because I come from a family with zero tact. And I now realize, no, I have no subtlety. I don't have a lot of time. Just because other people in my family are worse doesn't make me good. So I'm just calling it like it is. We have got to do better. We've got to do better. Our state is not working as well as it should be. So while I think we have great values, I think we care deeply about our community. I really think we have a lot of great stuff going for us, whether it's our fantastic school system or whether it's some of the job opportunities we have or the innovation. But we aren't offering it to everybody, still kind of by zip code.
Sure.
And we're not doing as well as we should in delivering public services to the people in the state and driving down costs for them. So we can do better. And that's why I'm running.
Well, it's very good to hear you mention reversing some of the effects of the generationally damaging effects of redlining and urban renewal and some of the racist policies that have been kind of the cornerstone of American governance for so many generations. I'm sure that there's a lot of people who are welcoming the policy changes in that regard. I know you don't have a bunch of time. I really appreciate all that you've done for the country and for actually being a leader in a moment where, even among Democrats, there's too many talkers and not enough doers. And I appreciate the fact that you're doing some things, Congresswoman. So thank you very much.
Certainly my pleasure. Thank you for what you're doing and bringing so much attention to the things we care deeply about. It's a really tumultuous time. There is real pain. And to have someone like you just sort of able to talk about these issues and provide some light on the way forward is really important. So thank you so much for having me.
We'll see you next time.
Take care.